With spring football, teams set the tone for fall football. And Ryan Day and the Ohio State Buckeyes are under a ton of pressure in 2024. I say bring it on. I'll tell you why. Lockdown Big Ten starts right now.
You are Locked On Big Ten, your daily podcast on the Big Ten Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Big Ten. I'm Craig Sheeman, coming up on 40 years as a sports talk show host and play-by-play announcer. Thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcast and on YouTube. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And this episode is brought to you by Nissan. Are you the kind of driver that likes to push things a little further? Ever wonder what adventure could be around the next corner? Take the Nissan Rogue, Nissan Pathfinder, or Nissan Armada and go find your next big adventure. Check them all out today at nissanusa.com. All right, we're going to talk about the pressure on the Buckeyes here this year. By the way, the Michigan game isn't the game they need to worry about. There's another one. I'll have that. Plus, the Big Ten men's basketball tournament starting tomorrow. We'll have some important information there. Plus, Tuesday tweets. See if yours made the cut. Be sure to subscribe. We're almost to 7,000 subscribers. Put us over the top. And follow Lockdown Big Ten for free wherever you get your podcast. That way you get the latest episode of this podcast as soon as it becomes available each and every day. There are two schools of thought around Ryan Day and the Ohio State Buckeyes. All right, one school of thought is that he's a great coach and he's won 56 of his 64 games at Ohio State, right? It's almost, 88%. That's like Newt Rockne level, by the way. They're always, Ohio State is always among the elite in college football. They always get coveted 5-star athletes when they recruit. They're always ranked in the top 5 or the top 10, and they're always in the mix for a Big Ten championship and college football playoffs. Always. They took over for Urban Meyer, and he's continued to win a lot of games, but not always the right games. Here we go. That brings me to the second school of thought. Ryan Day and the Buckeyes are 2-4 in bowl games. And even that pales in comparison to the 1-3 against Michigan. After all, Urban Meyer never lost to Michigan. Like, never. So there's always that hanging over Ryan Day when he takes over this upcoming football season. And this is in the background. As it's always in the background every year that he's been there. This has been in the background. This is something that he has to deal with. It is part of the job at Ohio State. But because of that, there's a tremendous amount of pressure on Ryan Day this season and every season, but especially this season. Some feel that if he loses a fourth straight game to Michigan, he might be done, even if that's his only loss this season. But I've got news for you. If a loss to Michigan is the only loss of the season, then that means a couple of things for Ohio State. That means they're a top 10 team, and that means that they're going to the expanded 12-team playoffs with a chance at winning a national championship. It is also at this point that I will remind you that Jim Harbaugh went many years without beating Ohio State, and the school stood by him. And I don't need to remind you what happened just 2 months ago. Patience is a virtue. But there isn't much patience in sports, and there isn't much patience at the top of the Big Ten. So the pressure remains. And look, Ryan Day knows this. You've heard us say repeatedly on Lockdown Big Ten that if it weren't for one Kyle McCord interception in the fourth quarter against Michigan, the Buckeyes very well could be defending Big Ten champions right now, and they'd have gone to the playoffs and maybe competed for a national championship. So the vibe around Columbus would be a lot different if it were not for that one play. I mean, let's be honest. That is the truth, right? It's bizarre. I know. It's just the way it is. Yet, it feels like there's a complete redo in the mix here, or a doubling down or a tripling down on efforts to win at Ohio State behind the scenes. Kind of reminds me of when Tiger Woods was at his absolute peak, just not only beating everybody by double figures, just drilling everybody week in and week out, major after major. And in the middle of that, he decided to change his swing, got a new coach, changed everything up. People said, why? You know the story. He thought it was too much torque on the body. It's a long story, but nonetheless, it was an interesting point in sports. And so Day got to work here. at the end of the season. Got a bunch of new quarterbacks, including Kansas State transfer Will Howard, and not one, but two 5-star quarterback recruits in Aaron Nolan and Julian Sam. They, after some serious soul searching, also decided, this is a big job at Ohio State. And when he did a self-evaluation on how to improve, he decided to give up his specialty, offensive play calling, delegating that to someone else, be more of a CEO of this giant, powerful football program. At first, of course, as you know, he hired Bill O'Brien to run his offense. And then almost immediately afterward, like 3 weeks later, he bolted for the Boston College job. And then Day, almost as quickly, pulled a rabbit out of his hat and talked Chip Kelly into leaving UCLA as a head coach to become his coordinator. Now, you know the story. Kelly wanted out of UCLA. So this is just great timing and a great fit all when it had to happen. And so now this is the scenario that we enter. It's very remarkable, actually. So Day and the higher-ups at Ohio State, they weren't done. They also doubled down on name, image, and likeness collectives, getting a lot of money, handing money out, and they got their borderline NFL players that were considering maybe going to the NFL or maybe staying in college. Hey, here's a little money to stay in college another year. Great. Really doubled down and committed on that and got a lot of guys to stay instead of testing things out in the NFL waters. And I think that's going to pay huge dividends for the Buckeyes this season and beyond. They're going to be a very deep football team. Now, it's time to put 2024 together. Spring practice is here. The spring football game is around the corner next month. Surely a lot of attention is going to be paid on Chip Kelly and the 5 quarterbacks he has at his disposal. But the tone of the fall starts now. The pressure is real. Nobody in Columbus will shy away from it. Nobody's shying away from it. They accept it. That's part of the deal, being at Ohio State. It's why you go to Ohio State. It just seems like everybody in Columbus is doubling down on that pressure here in 2024. Now, pressure can do a couple things. It can make you shine like a diamond, or it can cause all sorts of problems. But it does appear to be championship or bust at Ohio State this year. I do have one word of warning for the Buckeyes, and it's a little change in the thought process, just a little bit, okay? When you look at the upcoming schedule, when you look at any schedule at Ohio State, what's the first thing you do? You go, all right, got to get the date of the Michigan game. It's all about the Michigan game. And usually Michigan is the best team on the schedule, and Michigan is the one potential stumbling block to getting a Big Ten championship and getting the playoffs, and vice versa. Michigan looks at Ohio State the same way. But the first big test for the Buckeyes isn't, if they're looking ahead to Michigan, they're making a big mistake. The big test is going to be October 12th against Oregon, at Oregon. All right, that's the real test. Oregon will be the best team on the Ohio State schedule this year, better than Michigan. And you Michigan fans will get upset with me. You Ohio State fans will probably agree with me. I know you Oregon fans out there will agree with me. That is going to be the game. It's on the schedule. It's a road game. You lose that one, and that could trip up the Buckeyes. You win it, and there might be no stopping the Buckeyes in 2024. I'll take your thoughts on that, of course. As always, you can hit us up on X at Talk Big Ten. And also our website, talkbig10 10.com. Also go there for some merch if you want to check that out. And all of our podcasts are archived there. We'd love to hear from you. And you can leave comments right in YouTube, or comments back and forth between fan groups. It gets a little testy sometimes. It's a fun place. Go check it out. Hit us up with a comment. All right, we've got the men's basketball tournament starting tomorrow on Wednesday. And we're going to take a look at that and the matchups and the seedings with some thoughts, but also the more important part, let you know where the games are airing. You want to be able to find them, and they're bouncing around just a little bit. So we'll help you out with all that. As long as we're talking basketball, I have some thoughts on who the next Ohio State basketball coach will be or should be. All that's coming up in just a minute right here on Locked On Big Ten. Hey, are you the kind of driver that likes to push things just a little further? Ever wonder what adventure might be around the next corner? Our friends at Nissan have a lineup of SUVs with the capabilities to take your adventure to the next level. Take, for example, the 2024 Nissan Rogue. It's perfect for city drives and great escapes. You want to go off the path a little bit. They have class exclusive Google built-ins, always updating and assisting you for anything, maps, information, anything on the area around there. The 2024 Rogue is a perfect midsize crossover for your next adventure. They also have the 2024 Nissan Pathfinder. Got room for up to 8, an expansive cargo capacity, and an advanced available 4x4 capability. Plus, the 2024 Nissan Armada. It will change what you expect from a full-size SUV. Take the Nissan Rogue, Nissan Pathfinder, or Nissan Armada and go find your next big adventure. Shop NissanUSA.com. That's NissanUSA.com. I want to thank everybody for making Locked On Big Ten your first listen each and every day. And you everydayers out there, thank you for coming back day after day. It really helps us out. We enjoy it. We love it. And building a Big Ten community here. Thanks for being part of that. Meanwhile, be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. I mentioned at the top, we're this close to 7,000 subscribers. Let's get us over the top there if you don't mind. Subscribe. It's free. It's easy. It's one click. There's no other information that's needed. You can do that on YouTube and share and follow and like. Locked On Big Ten, your team every day. And once again, don't forget our website. You can check that out at talkbig1010.com. All right, so while the Iowa Hawkeyes are making room for a new women's Big Ten tournament trophy at Carver Hawkeye Arena, let's take a peek at the men's tournament, which begins tomorrow, Wednesday night in Minneapolis. And more importantly, where are these games on TV? Because I know you want to watch them. All right, so all these times will be Eastern time. A lot of times you'll look at a roster of games for the tournament. Since it's in Minneapolis, they're all listed in Central time. I'm going to give you the Eastern time zone times, okay? So Wednesday, March 13th, first game at 6:30. Again, 6:30 Eastern. The number 12 seed Maryland taking on the number 13 seed Rutgers. That will be on Peacock. So you have to subscribe to Peacock to see that one. And then 25 minutes after that game is over, 11 seed Penn State takes on 14 seed Michigan. Again, that's on Peacock. It's a Peacock doubleheader on Wednesday, March 13th. Thursday, March 14th, we switch everything over to the Big Ten Network. We started off with 8 seed Michigan State taking on 9 seed Minnesota. That is a noon Eastern time. And 25 minutes after that game is over, 5 seed Wisconsin taking on the winner of the previous day's Maryland-Rutgers game. All right. Then to the nighttime, 6:30 Eastern time. The 7 seed Iowa going to take on 10 seed Ohio State. Both of these teams are up and comers. This is going to be a good game. Iowa started scoring some points and winning some more games later in the year. And, ever since Chris Holtmann was fired at Ohio State, they've been winning some football games. I have some more thoughts on that, by the way, in just a minute. You want to hang for that. After the Iowa-Ohio State game, about 25 minutes after that, 6 seed Indiana tips off against the winner of the Penn State-Michigan game. We're on to Friday for the quarterfinals. Friday, March 15th, number 1 seed Purdue taking on the winner of the Michigan State-Minnesota game. That is at noon Eastern on the Big Ten Network. 25 minutes after that game, Northwestern takes on the winner of Wisconsin versus Penn State versus Michigan will take on Wisconsin. And then the winner of that game takes on Purdue. Got it? Simple. 25 minutes after that one, Northwestern, again, after the Purdue, Michigan State, Minnesota game, Northwestern will take on the winner of Wisconsin versus the winner of Maryland and Rutgers. Got it. All right. Then at night, Illinois versus the winner of Iowa, Ohio State, the big game we just talked about a few minutes ago. That's at 6:30 on the Big Ten Network. And 25 minutes after that, Nebraska will take on the winner of Indiana versus Penn State versus Michigan as that plays out. All right. And then we're on to Saturday games, March 16th. 2 semifinal games. The first one starts at 1 o'clock Eastern. The semis, that's on CBS now. When we get to the weekend, it's on CBS. And then the second semifinal game, 25 minutes after the first one. And our championship, March 17th, St. Patrick's Day, 3:30 Eastern time on CBS. And then Selection Sunday for the men, that's at 6 o'clock on CBS. And Selection Sunday for the NCAA tournament for the women, 8 p.m. That will be on ESPN. Okay. Now, go back to the thought I started with the Ohio State Buckeyes. as soon as their season comes to an end, their athletic director will name a new basketball coach to replace Chris Holtmann. As you all know, he was fired mid-season here. And this will be the first big new decision for incoming athletic director Ross Bjork. Bjork has indicated that no rookies need apply. This job is going to go to an experienced head coach. So that kind of gets us to the top of a group of a list of coaches out there. I think the front runner appears to be Sean Miller from Xavier. He's got 19 years experience as a head coach. He's won 72% of his games. Back before he was at Xavier, he was at Arizona, and he got them to 6 straight NCAA tournaments in a row from 2013 to 2018, and 4 of those teams made it to the Sweet 16. The downside on that is Arizona had to vacate all of its wins from 2016 to 2018 following an FBI investigation that looked into Adidas making illegal payments to Miller's players in exchange for their commitment to play at Arizona. In all, 5 level 1 infractions were leveled against Arizona. Miller was ultimately fired in 2021. So there's some baggage there. But let's be real. In all, Adidas making payments to players to attend a school sounds a lot closer to today's nil collectives, giving kids money more than, say, what warranted an FBI investigation, a full-blown FBI investigation just a few years ago. After a year at Arizona out of the game, Miller landed at Xavier. He made the Sweet 16 last year, but he had a disappointing season this season. But he's right there in the state of Ohio. That means he's already been recruiting in the state of Ohio, and he appears to be the front runner for the Buckeyes gig. I'd like to hear from you, Buckeye fans, on Twitter and also on YouTube. Is this what you want? Is this the guy you want to circle? Also to watch, probably the first name that popped up on this search was Florida Atlantic coach Dusty May. Dusty May, of course, took a tiny little school in South Florida, the Owls, to the Final Four last year, led them to another 20-plus win season this year. He's an Indiana grad. He's familiar with the Big Ten. He's actually a former manager under Bob Knight. And there were rumors that May was maybe eyeing the job in Bloomington. But in all fairness to Mike Woodson, Woodson is coming back next season. So we'll see if that plays out. Finally, how about Jake Diebler, anybody? Look, I know he was named the interim head coach, and he was the day Holtmann was fired. And all of a sudden, he completely turned the Buckeyes around. It took a very bad team, a team, I should say, that had talent but was underperforming. In short order, got quality wins over Big Ten champion Purdue, some great wins. You know, if the Buckeyes make a run here in this Big Ten tournament, Diebler's going to have to garner some late serious attention for the job, don't you think? But Bjork is set on hiring a guy with a ton of experience. Diebler does not have that. So I don't think he's going to be the guy no matter what. But he's done a great job calming those waters at Ohio State. So anyway, that's how I see it with his job search. And it should be winding down pretty shortly. Maybe, well, I believe early next week, we'll hear who the next Ohio State basketball coach is, if not sooner. Hey, have you heard Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube? It's called Locked On Sports Today. It's here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Go to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube and subscribe to the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel and catch guys like me over there and over here as well. So go ahead and subscribe to all of them. Locked On Big Ten, Locked On Sports Today. It's free. It's quick. Just a little click and you're good to go. All right. On Tuesdays, we like to do Tuesday tweets. If you follow me on Twitter at Talk Big Ten, I'm always on there. If I find something I like, I retweet it, maybe make a comment, and I pull the best of the best and put them on this segment coming up next. We'll see if yours made our list. That's coming up next right here on Locked On Big Ten. Get buckets with your first bet on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 if your bet wins. Bet all your favorite NBA players and teams with quick bets, live same-game parlays, exclusive props. I will tell you tonight, Tuesday night, NBA action. I like the Knicks over the Sixers. That's at New York. I take the over in the Pacers-Thunder game, and I like the Celtics over the Jazz. The Celtics are just red hot, blowing people out. So I like that. What about you? Check it out. Just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and shoot your shot. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon. FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NBA. All right, it is time now for our Tuesday tweets. Let's take a look. Let's see if you made the list. We will put them on screen. If you are listening on audio only, I'll try and describe them as best I can so you can follow along. For those of you on the video, here it is, full screen. Let's go. We'll start it off. Going to be a lot of Caitlin Clark and Iowa Hawkeye stuff on here. Again, congratulations to them for winning the Big Ten tournament over the weekend. This one is from Iowa women's basketball. It's just a collage of players, Caitlin Clark included, and three straight. Hashtag Hawkeyes. Congratulations. Big Ten tournament champions, 3 straight years. Here's one from at College Basketball on Fox. It is the final seconds of that overtime win, Iowa over Nebraska in the Big Ten championship game in Minneapolis. It says it's a three-peat. Hawks win, Big Ten champs. At Caitlin Clark 22 and at Iowa women's basketball. It's about a 16-second video there. Then I like this video. I love this a lot. This is from Iowa women's basketball. Caitlin Clark in front of the camera, picking up the confetti and throwing it at the camera. And it was a cool shot. Thought I'd put it in there. If you want to watch the video on your own, feel free. And then here's another one from Iowa women's basketball. Iconic. And it is Caitlin Clark after the game, sitting in front of the shower in front of the Big Ten championship trophy. And those that watch basketball are a little older. This is a semi-recreation of Michael Jordan crying over the NBA Bill O'Brien trophy in the showers of the Bulls locker room after winning an NBA championship. I thought this was cool, so worth sharing it as well. All right, elsewhere, here is at Adam Carricker 94. I love that Nebraska sports are doing so good right now. It's an exciting time to be a Husker fan. Wouldn't you agree? And it's a quad box of Husker sports, men's basketball, women's basketball, baseball. You're right. Nebraska is on the upside, the whole athletic department. And I expect a better year out of the football team. In fact, a couple days ago, we just did a whole feature on a podcast on the Nebraska football team. Go check it out. Go back and check it out and it's on our wherever you get your podcasts, of course, Locked On Big Ten. But we also archive everything on our website, talkbig10.com. That's talkbig10, number 10.com. Check it out. A lot of you enjoyed that one as well. Here is one from at Salty Sparty. This is shortly after the loss to the Indiana Hoosiers for the regular season finale. It is a picture of Sparty smoking a cigar. It looks like he's got a nice drink with a few ice cubes. Says, "I'm fine." It looks like he's scowling a little bit, probably a little bit upset. I don't know if he is fine, but it's going to be an interesting postseason here, Big Ten tournament for Tom Izzo and the Michigan State Spartans. If Izzo and the Spartans don't get into the NCAA tournament, it's going to break a 25-year streak. Here is from at Josh P. Big Ten wins during the 2023-24 season. It's a list. Jake Diebler, who we just talked about, is the interim head coach at Ohio State with 5. Chris Holtmann, the whole entire season ahead of him, got 4 at Ohio State, and Juwan Howard at Michigan, 3. And it says here, Diebler just took over Ohio State just 6 games ago. Yeah, Diebler did a great job. He really, really did. All right, this one is from at Boilerball. It's a picture of Zach Edey going up for a dunk against Wisconsin in the season finale. Now, he reached a couple more milestones. It says players in NCAA history with the following during their careers: 2,200 points, 1,200 rebounds, 200 blocks, 60% field goal percentage. Only 2 guys in the history of college basketball have done that. Zach Edey won. David Robinson, the great David Robinson out of Navy, the second and only other one to have done it. So big stats. Of course, Zach Edey, they retired his jersey right there after the game during senior night. And here's more from at Boiler Ball. It is a bunch of the Purdue players and a collage behind them, and most conference wins by a senior class in Big Ten men's basketball history over 4 years. Congratulations to them. And here's a shout out to Penn State Wrestling. This is at Big Ten Wrestling putting out this picture. It is of Mitchell Mesenbrink. He was ranked number 2, had a 13-11 comeback victory to claim the 165-pound weight title for the Big Ten. Back-to-back Big Ten championships at 157 pounds and 165 pounds for the Nittany Lions. Congratulations to them. So there you have it. That's another look at our Tuesday tweets. Hope you enjoyed that. And I'm always looking for new stuff. If you're out there, you can even at me, get my attention, help me find it. I'll put it on Tuesday tweets. Tomorrow we'll have our power rankings once again. And keep an eye on more football and basketball. Of course, the Big Ten tournament starts tomorrow for men's basketball. Many ways for you to interact with this podcast. Make sure you can follow us on Twitter and X at Talk Big Ten, number 10. Also on YouTube, and then our website, talkbig10.com. And also, if you don't mind, before you go, subscribe. Get us over 7,000. It's free, it's simple, and it gets you in our club, our Big Ten club. Talk about Big Ten stuff all the time. Follow this podcast right now on your favorite podcast app, and you get the latest episode of Locked On Big Ten as soon as it becomes available each and every day. Once we're done here, feel free to check out another one, Locked On Big Ten. And we also have Locked On Sports Today on YouTube as well, 24/7. It's always right there. Going to be ready for the Big Ten tournament tomorrow, and more spring football on the table right here. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll talk to you tomorrow. Always appreciate it. For Locked On Big Ten, I'm Craig Sheeman.